Hi, welcome back to another episode of Anyone Can Paint. Today I think we'll be able to finish this rascal off. Let's go ahead and get right to it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start putting some of the grasses and the weeds in here. And with that we're going to use the small fan brush. And we're going to go into some yellow. And this is the stroke. If you look down here at the palette where you're going to put your brush there and then you're going to slightly bend it forward. And this will make, I think, some of the best grasses and weeds that you can possibly make. And you can really pop them out pretty quick. We're going to go right along this ridge line because remember that's where the foreground hill and it kind of goes down from there. So we're going to be putting these right up against that. So again, you just want to go through and lightly touch and allow the bristles to bend a bit. And again, just like I always tell you whenever you're highlighting anything, is don't cover up all your dark. That's what, in the case of the ground, this is what really kind of gives it some depth. Like you can get right into there and you can see down through some of the clumps of the grasses and things. And this is where also, if you didn't like, or still maybe don't like the shape of your path, this is where you can go in, and because that's dark, and that's dark, you can bring those colors right over it. And maybe it's not a bad idea to do that anyway, so it looks like there's a little bit of overgrowth, but you can definitely change that look by bringing some weeds out a little bit closer, or out into the path, and maybe back out a little bit. So you still have a lot of options available. But just go in, bend your bristles a little bit, and don't cover up all your dark. And you'll see with this, because you're using really one side of the fan brush, all you got to do when you start running out of paint is flip the brush over like this, and you're already loaded again and ready to go. Now some of this that we're putting in, especially down in this area here, is going to be in shadow, because we're going to have some shadows kind of come across the grasses in the path, and of course we're going to put some larger rocks up in this area. But we'll just kind of put this in for now. In fact, the rest of this is definitely going to be in shadow. So maybe what I'll do is I'll hop over, I'm going to grab some more paint, just reload, and I'm going to come over here and get this area. Again, this is going to be in shadow and probably a little bit more up into this area, but again, I like to kind of overpaint it a little bit. So we definitely need to come through and hit this ridge. And then you're just going to work this back up into and underneath the trees. I'm going to reload. I'll be right back. But hopefully you can see how important it is to have some dark showing through there. And again, that's what really gives it some depth, like there's some thickness and some height to that. And most of this is going to be in shadow, so I think I'm going to stop right about there. And just wherever you think you need to touch it up. Let's go ahead and clean that brush out. And while that's kind of setting up, let's go through and we'll put some highlights and some lowlights on those rocks that we did last week. We're going to go to the small flat bristle brush. And the easiest thing to do when you're going to be doing highlighted rocks and lowlighted rocks is to do your highlighted rocks first, because that's generally going to be some white and some brown. Then all you got to do to get your lowlights, or the rocks that are in shadow, is just add blue to that color. So you don't have to make up two different batches of color. You can actually just use the one batch first. So we're going to go white, a little bit of brown, chiseled edge, and again we're going to hit the light, or the rocks that are in the light. Remember that the light's coming in from the left hand side, so you want to hit the left hand side of your rocks. And again, don't cover up all your dark. And some of these you don't have to get a whole bunch of detail to, because they're still on the small side. But again, these are the ones that are in the sunlight. And that's about it. And I've got some that are in the shadow. So what I'm going to do now, don't clean out your brush, just come grab some blue, and you want to blend that blue right in that color. Now to get the right color, you want this to be like a blue battleship gray color. And we'll go right back to the canvas. You're going to highlight it on the same side. And here I have a pretty good clump going here, so you can make just a variety of shapes here. There, but you can definitely see, and that really helps with that shadowing effect, the ones that are out in the sunlight against the ones that are not. You can go ahead and clean out your brush. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our fan brush, now that that whole section is basically done, and we're going to start putting in our shadow grasses here. Now this is, we're going to give again some yellow and some blue, and you want to blend that together, and this needs to be a bluish green color. And as long as it's lighter than what you've got into your underpainting, then you're going to be okay. And we're just going to take this up. I need to get this a little bluer. I'm going to be right back. Didn't blend that very well. Yeah, it's going to work. And it's the exact same technique. You're just going to bend your brush. And see how we're getting just a little bit? Because I still have some of that yellow in there. And I didn't overly blend that color on my brush. That's how you're getting some different shades of that shadow grasses. There's some dark areas. There's some areas that are just kind of catching just a little bit of light. I'm going to reload. I'll be right back. And you just want to work that right up into where your highlights are. And again, just kind of bounce this around. I'm going to reload, then we're going to shoot across to the other side. Same thing. Just work that right up against your highlights. I'm just going to change this because I saw how this should, depending on however shape you want, but this should kind of go across meet this. So you don't want to have shadows come here, then over here they start here. They got to kind of flow together. And the path ends up being like the bridge that connects all that, which we will take care of here soon. Again, just work this color right up underneath your trees. I got to reload. And bring it right down to the edge of the path. You reload again. A little bit more. Now this underpainting could have been a little bit darker, but it works out either way. And that side's a little bluer, so I'm going to shoot over here and just touch this a little bit more, because I actually like that color better. So just incorporate this kind of here and there. There. And we can clean that brush out. Next thing we need to do is put some highlights in our big trees. So with that, we're going to go to the medium flat bristle brush. And with this, we're going to put, this is going to be basically yellow, and we're going to add just a touch of burnt sienna to this. And this will kind of make this to a goldish orange color. So it kind of really looks like maybe the morning sun's coming up and hitting this. This tree is going to be in front of that tree, so you're going to kind of get an overlap. So we're going to do this tree first, and it's really important not to take it all the way back, because remember, the branches here have to come out. So we definitely need a little bit of dark here to separate those two out. So we're going to start up near the top. Remember, using the corner of the brush the whole way. You can kind of touch that to get it started. Corner of the brush. Focus on the left-hand side, and again, as always, don't cover up all of your underpainting. Just kind of hit here and there. And it's okay to go back past halfway once in a while. In fact, if you don't, if you stop at the same spot, you're going to create a visual line here if they all stop at the same point. So once in a while, take some past halfway, sometimes maybe not quite halfway. My color just changed a little bit, so I just wanted to incorporate that into the tree itself. And I'm just really using the corner of the brush still. And just leave a little bit of dark down at the bottom. Same colors. We're going to shoot over and get to the large tree. And even though you don't see the top thing, same thing starts to apply with this one. You want to start putting it on the left-hand side and working your way back. Still just using the corner of the brush. Now this is where we're going to separate, or kind of separate the trees out here, is by this one's going to be coming over in front of the one we just did. Again, it's really important that you allow some of that dark to show through. See how three-dimensionalized that is? Again, it's just that dark is so important to be in there. The highlights always will give you the shape of it, but the dark always gives you the depth or the thickness. Again, kind of go past halfway once in a while, maybe not quite halfway other times. I'm going to brighten it up a little bit right there so that it really stands out against that other one. Just kind of work that color back in, and then it looks like it was always part of that. There we go. Maybe a little bit right there. There, then we can clean out our brush. All right. Before I forget to do this, I need to get a little bit of a path that's going back there where it kind of, this goes down over the hill. Who knows where it goes from there? Maybe it goes down like that and comes around. But we need to kind of make it kind of connect like there. So this is going to be some brown and just a touch of blue to it. Chiseled edge, because you don't want this to be very wide because this path is further away. And maybe it just kind of goes over there. It just kind of meanders its way. Now what you don't want to do is do this as a straight line, because it just won't look very interesting. So just kind of make sure that you kind of move this around a bit. Just like that. Maybe it just kind of goes like that towards the mountain. And we can clean that out. All right, next thing we need to do is we need to put in some rocks that are going to be up here in the foreground area. This is blue and brown again. Half and half if you want, or you can put a little bit more blue in it to make it darker. These are going to be a little bit larger, so they're going to have a little bit more detail to them when we highlight them. There's going to be a big old monster one right up in here. And of course we can always have, some small ones here and there. And we need to put some over on this side. Hopefully you can see this. I know this is dark on dark here, but and we'll let those kind of set up. And we'll clean that out. Okay, now we're going to go through and we're going to put some highlights on our path. Same brush, we're going to get some white and brown. This is going to be our highlight color. Now what you want to do is get a piece of paper towel and kind of wipe some of that paint out. And if you hold your brush like the Statue of Liberty again holds their torch, we're going to be using the side of the bristles to scrub this in. You don't want to use the end of your bristles because then you're going to get lines and things, but you want to kind of use a mopping motion. So again, this is going to be where the sunlight is. So if you've got sunlight on both sides of your path, this is where you need to go with this. But you want to be doing these scrubs horizontally, so your path looks like it's flat. And you can just apply as much pressure as you want to get the thickness of the amount of paint that you'd like. And you're just going to work this down until we get into the shadows. Then you're going to stop. Now with that color, similar to how we did the rocks back here, you're going to add blue to this color. And this will make this shadow color. Same thing, it should be like a bluish battleship gray. You can wipe some off on your brush. And we're going to come up and do some horizontal strokes. And just work this into that. I'm going to have to do this upside down to get this part. So bear with me here. I think this is the first time I've ever done this. I'm going with a little bit of dark, just kind of here and there, just to kind of tone that down a little bit. There we go. Just a little bit. All right, we can clean that brush out. Now we're going to go with a small flat bristle brush, and we're going to put just a small amount of highlights on that path that we put way, way, way in the back. Again, you don't want to cover up all your dark. This is again going to be some white, a little bit of brown, chiseled edge. And you want to apply these using very horizontal strokes, because remember, if you do it horizontal, then it looks like the path lies flat. And you don't have to cover up all the dark. You can allow some of that to show through once in a while. I'm just lightly touching, but my brush is staying horizontal. That's again to kind of get that look of being, even here, even though the path goes in that angle, still need to apply this horizontally. There. And we can clean that out. Now we're going to use the small flat bristle brush that we have. We're going to go through and start putting some highlights on some of these rocks. Now, some of these are still a little wet, so we'll kind of play with that. Boy, really, the lobby area there. There. Again, white, a little bit of brown. Remember, your light source is still coming from the left, so you still need to put this on the left-hand side of the tree. Chiseled edge. My big ones are still a little wet, so I'm going to work on my small ones. And small ones, remember, only need a little bit of highlighting. You don't have to do a whole lot to them. We're going to save that for our larger ones. But it always goes on the outside edge, and then, especially when you get to the larger rocks. And then you're going to start pulling this color in towards the center. But again, don't cover up all your dark. And get these over on this side that are in the sunlight. Yeah, a bunch of little ones in here. And this can be a fairly good size one. But see how I just lightly do that? Just pull it back towards the center. Maybe this could be a rock here. Again, just lightly work it back towards the center of the rock. The firmest stroke needs to be on the outside edge. Let's see how lucky we can get up here. These are a little moist. That one I'm going to count as being into the shadows, but these two big ones here, these are certainly out into the sunshine. So on these big ones, you don't touch that edge of your rock because the light's hitting that side, but on the inside, really lightly, not much pressure. I'm just using the corner of the brush. You want to work that back in towards the center. Now if you do it light, you can still see some of the dark showing through. And that's a good thing. That kind of gives you a little bit of texture. Let's put one there. See, by not overly blending it, allowing some dark to show through, you get that look of some texture there. Let's get this last one. Same thing. This is still a little wet, so this is going to darken up pretty good. The rest of the ones you have are in shadow, so we need to add blue to that color. Same thing applies. You hit the outside edge, and then you just lightly start working that in towards the center. Put one there. I'm just going to reload. I'll be right back. I'll save that big one. That's still a little wet, so I'm going to grab these little guys over here. There's one there. There. I got a pretty good sized one here. So you're just going to bring that over the top of the rock. Again, really lightly work this in so you can still see some of that dark underpainting showing through once in a while. Now we'll go to this last guy there, and he's pretty good size. And you just kind of come through, and again, you just want to softly set. It's a little wet right there, so maybe that'll work to our advantage. I'm going to reload. I'll be right back. But see how by not scrubbing real hard and doing it really light in some areas, You see all that underpainting starting to show through, and you get that feel of texture. It looks really three-dimensionalized. And just wherever you've got a dark at, you can always just throw a little bit of that on there to make it look like some smaller ones. Because again, you're just kind of suggesting. And I think we got this rascal pretty well whipped out. Let me clean this out. I think we got time. I'm going to do one more cloud. Remember we did this in the very beginning? White paint corner of the brush. Remember the lights coming there? Kind of shape your cloud. And then you lightly start scrubbing it back away from your light source. Smooth out the bottom of it. I think it's with some seconds left, we're going to brighten this one up over here. But just don't think too much about clouds. Put them in, let them go. We'll clean this out. And I hope you enjoyed this one. This was a lot of fun. It's, you know, some other things that you can do. Remember, don't do too much to your mountains. Thank you again so much for watching this week. We appreciate it so much. We'll see you next week with a brand new painting. Remember, you can do this. I promise you, anyone can paint.